The new look is just incredibly fascinating. How was it originally described to you?
Um, well, how was it actually described to me? I don't think it was so much. I mean, I think it was described to me as this um that they wanted to do this show about Christian Dior and Coco Chanel mainly, but the whole of the French fashion business during the war. Um, and would I take a meeting with the showrunner and the director, and then he sort of told me about it. So yeah, that's a kind of boring explanation, isn't it? But
No, it's truthful. That's how it was,
yeah,
that's how it happened, right?
yeah.
When they noticed you be playing Hans, did you do some background research on him, or do you not tend to let historical, real people influence the characters you play?
Well, I mean, that's sort of. I mean, I feel it's always different, isn't it? It's like the approach to every character is always. Um, yeah, you always have to find that way in with everyone. And for this one, I actually was sort of interested in finding out about, I mean, there's actually quite a lot of stuff written about him and his relationship with Coco Chanel. But I mean mainly what his sort of function was, because he was not just like this with her. This is what the Nazis used him for. He was sort of an agent, a spy, a diplomat that was sent out to sort of befriend important people in France to sort of see if the Nazis could benefit from knowing them. Um, so as I sort of understood it, he had a lot of these relationships with actually quite a lot of women in Paris at the same time, trying to sort of get information out of them, trying to lure them over to the Nazi side, all that. Um, and as I found out that there was quite a bit of material on him, I actually think I I read most of it to sort of get an idea of how they went about the business, and because it's just such an alien kind of thing, isn't it? It's like weird. Um, so I just wanted to find out a little bit of that whole thing, and the thing about him was that he was very like he was sand running through your fingers. I mean, because he was married and he had a wife that lived. I think he actually took his wife out of Germany and put her in the south of France, as far away from the war as he could, because he could sort of see that I think there was a Jewish element to it as well, I think. Um, so bizarre guy, very much. And as I sort of understood it, he also, I mean, he continued his relationship with Coco Chanel after the war. So yeah, very bizarre. Not that, I mean, you can't just do whatever is in the history books. You have to sort of put that and then have that meet what is in the script and what is me and what is in that situation with Juliet or Emily, who I have most of my dealings with. Um, so yeah, it was that. But yeah, I actually did read quite a lot about this guy.
I have to ask about working with Juliette Binoche. She's quite a talent. What was the
My
experience
God.
like for you?
I mean, she's a legend, isn't she? It's kind of weird because I think we're almost the same age, but I have a feeling that she's been, on my telly since I was 5 or something. Um, that's probably not true, but she has I think the first time I saw her was in the unbearable lightness of being, and that must be at least 30 years ago. I'd say. I can't remember exactly when that movie came out, but it's a long time ago. I think it seems she's been around forever, but I mean, we are still sort of the same age, actually. I think perhaps she's 1 year older than I am or something. But yeah, she was lovely, just lovely, exactly as lovely as you'd expect her to be. I mean, when you've when you've done all I mean, she doesn't really have anything to prove, does she? She can just be there.
The costumes are exceptional, and certainly the fashion is an element as well. And someone who you seem to be quite versed in fashion yourself and enjoy that for red carpets yourself. Was that something that was intriguing to you as well to be a part of
No,
this?
not at all. No, not in any way, because my character has got nothing to do with the fashion bits of the story. He's only connected to, I mean, he's um with Juliet, and then he's with also when she's with Emily Mortimer and her character. But I think I had one suit. There's one suit that I'm wearing for the entire. I mean, I think I'm in 6 episodes or something. That's it. So the whole thing of the fashion element was not something that came into play in my side of the story at all. So that was not really something that it drew me to it, because it was not something that I had any dealings with.
Well, then did it take slipping into that suit to truly find your inner Von Dinklage and slip out at the end of the day when you took the suit off?
What do you mean?
When it comes to getting into character, does it
Yeah.
take you sort of slipping into their costume?
Oh no, no, I don't. I mean, it's part of it. Obviously, costume is part of it, but the suit is not the character. I always really, really, really love this story of I think it's Jack Nicholson and Harry Dean Stanton, and Harry Dean Stanton says to Jack Nicholson, "So, I'm struggling with this character. I don't really fucking I can't really don't know what to do. I'm and Jack Nicholson says, "Well, you just be yourself and you just let the costume play the character." Um I think it's so cool. And there's a truth, there's an element of truth to it, in the sense that you're like the emotional vehicle, and then there's something else, that you put on that gives you at least a hint of the character. But I think there's more to it, than just putting on the suit. I think characters like is built when you put that on with the setting, with you know the people that you're with, how we all interact with I mean, it's all shaping it. So it's not like I just wham on my suit and then the character is there. So I feel it's something that happens, with all these elements in play.
There are so many incredible episodes to this series. What were some of your favorite scenes to film, or maybe moments that you're most proud of?
Well, this would be spoiling if I had to say that. So but
Maybe an episode number if you're able to tease
yeah, I
that
mean,
out.
there is a scene. It's quite nasty, and I'm really the nasty of nastiest. Um, in I think it's episode 9 or 10, with Emily, who I love and adore. Um, where I'm just really an asshole. Um, But I just remember doing that. I mean, it was really good fun to play that, because it was just horrible. It was when Hans von Dincklage, Spatz, when he went full JP, from Bad Sisters, when you sort of like had the worst of both worlds. Um, yeah, but I can't really say too much about that scene because it's that would be spoiling it. But that was fun to do. It's I think it's in episode 9 or 10.
What do you think it is about the new look and about these historical moments that truly fascinate people?
Hmm. Well, that would be speculation to try and say what I think is interesting for. I mean, I don't know what goes on in other people's heads. So I can't really answer that without, sort of trying to speculate. I mean, I
Well,
suppose it's like, I mean, history is and has always been like, hmm, it's always been a thing for us as humans. I mean, it's we're constantly looking back to sort of see if we can deduct something or learn something, or perhaps there's just a great story there. Or I think one thing that is like because these brands, I mean, these names, Chanel and Dior, I mean, even if you're not really into fashion, I still have a feeling that most people will have heard those names because they're so massive brands, right? Um, so to sort of get to hear the story behind them and how they fared during the Second World War, I think is probably interesting. I'm not entirely sure that, that story has been told in at least not in this format before. So I suppose there's something there, trying to sort of, you know, see what was actually behind this. That is something that is just there. I mean, ask me a question about something I know something about. In
okay, well, what have the other projects you've been busy working on lately been?
um, I have been so what has just come out is the Stockholm Blockbath, which has now only come out in Scandinavia. Um, but I think that they're at the Berlinale right now trying to sell it. I suppose it'll be up for streaming worldwide at some point. I've been working on a project that's like been quite mad because it's called The Master and Margarita. It's a Russian novel from the 1930s that is highly critical of Stalin and the dictatorship and the censorship. And that has been made into a film, and I have a tiny part in that. In that whole thing, it's about a guy that's a writer, and he's writing in the novel, he's writing a novel about Pontius Pilate. And I play Pontius Pilate, and we filmed that a year ago in Dubrovnik, and I did it in Aramaic and Latin, which are two languages that I do not speak. So that took quite a lot of effort to sort of get in there and actually try and understand what the bloody hell it was that I was saying. The thing about the movie, though, is that it's has started to come out in Russia, and being critical of that whole dictatorship, it's sort of, I mean, there are so many parallels to what's going on in Russia right now, to what Putin is doing. So there are some of people, some of Putin's friends that have been out saying that why has this movie even come out? It should be illegal, and the director should be prosecuted and even shot. So it's caused quite a lot of commotion, this movie that it's just come out, I think, like 3 weeks ago in Russia, and hopefully it'll come out in the rest of the world. I have not even seen the movie yet, and to read these things about, how they're asking for the director to be put in front of to be prosecuted is like mad. I can't actually remember ever having had anything like that where I was part of a project where people were like that crazy. And honestly, I think the scare is real because there have been so many cases of people being killed by Russian agents. I mean, we've got the Salisbury murder, for instance, where someone was, I mean, so it's like it's actually quite concerning, I feel that, that there are people saying these things about this wonderful guy that I have worked with and that has made what I think is a quite, hopefully is a very good movie. And now they're sort of asking for him for it to have legal consequences. It's like mad, it's crazy. So that has come out as well. Then I've been working on in the fall I was in Italy shooting Wilhelm Tell, which is that the story of, I mean, the story that everybody knows about this guy is that he's being tasked with shooting an apple off his son's head. Do you know the story? Yeah. So that's like the core of what people normally know. You could sort of say, if you wanted to sort of really be be quite brief about it, it's sort of like the Swiss Braveheart. It's like it's a story of how Austria and Hungary, like they were a massive empire at that time, how they tried to sort of take over that piece of land that later on became Switzerland. And when they do that, they sort of decide to gather and kick them out. And this guy, Wilhelm Tell, he's sort of at the forefront of that whole rebellion. Um, so that was what I did in the fall. Yeah, last summer I did a movie that I think is probably going to come out this spring, or at least going to be hopefully on festivals. A movie that's called Bonjour Tristesse, um, with Lily McInerney and Chloe Sevigny and Elia Harsoune. Yes, that's. I mean those. So we filmed that in the south of France. Wonderful and wonderful people to be with. So that is I think is finished. I've done my ADR for it. Uh, and I think the ambition is try and get it out to festivals this spring, summer, fall. So that should be coming out too. Um, yeah, and then I've done like a little bit in I think that's actually going to come out quite soon as well. The Outlaws series 3. That Stephen Merchant show that did really well, the first two series. I've tiny part in that. Also really nasty kind of piece of work, but that's what I like. That's what I do. Um, so yeah, I think that's going to come out like March, April also or something. So I did so many things like the last couple of years, and they're all sort of starting to come out now. It's going to be 1 year of talking to you and your people.